The history of the community is reassembled in a cemetery. This link with the past through cemetery usage is biblical in its dimension. It's foundational in terms of who we are. It's foundational in terms of giving future generations of visions of who they're going to be. And if we don't handle this correctly, we are missing the boat on our obligation as far as my point of view is concerned. Had written some papers, and this got the attention of Rabbi Perlson at the time. I went on the board and became president 5 years later, and I guess because they were happy with what I was doing, I became the first two-time president. I had done a whole lot of research, and the more I learned, the more certain I became that the time was ripe to do something entirely different and do it on behalf of the total Jewish community. I thought I could bring it into the modern age, and I thought too, done on a proper scale, providing a better product at a cheaper price, serving the community's needs long term, would bring the other cemeteries into line in order to compete with us. I think I was offended by the idea that people would be abused and muscled at the worst time in their lives. I said to Rabbi Perlson, look, who is there out there that knows the community well? And he referred me to Ben Schneider. When I met with Ben, I told him what I wanted to do. He was quite enthusiastic about it. I was dealing with the province on the basis that I represented the community on a non-profit situation. Also, I needed to have some, I didn't need their money. What I needed was their involvement. Because Pardes Shalom and Pardes Chaim are community owned, I gifted it to the community. What happened was I was looking for the cheapest land I could find and the most suitable. At that time, the Pardes Shalom site was impossible. It was hills, valleys, and it was owned by Superior Sand and Gravel, who were looking to extract gravel. I was able to buy the land at an excellent price, deferred, so that in effect, they took back a mortgage on the cemetery, unheard of. I was not only creating an organization, I was doing all the work. I was doing the grading, paying machines by the hour. I was there every single day while that work was going on, supervising it. The same with the road building, the same with the landscaping. So I was very, very involved in Pardes Shalom in those days. When we opened, we had a bunch of politicians and what have you speaking before I gave the keynote address, and one of them specifically said that he'd driven up to attend a funeral and couldn't find it. And of course, one of the reasons he couldn't find it, I didn't have the sufficient surplus funds at the time to build the entrance that's there now. That was actually built in '91. I wanted to build a place that was park-like. We don't, in Pardes Shalom, we basically use half the land that I'd originally bought. The rest of it is parks. What I wanted to do was build a cemetery for the community. I ranked very highly the idea that this would bring the community together in at times such fractious antagonisms that arise. I basically said, look, within your section, you can make any rule you want, provided two things. You don't offend the Cemeteries Act, you don't offend our rules and regulations, and you are respectful of other denominations and what have you. Because of the way I designed the cemetery, there were almost natural mechitzas, where there were divisions that easily attained, so that either a road or a row of trees or whatever separated one section from the other. But I wanted the cemetery to be open to whatever beliefs you had. I, of course, was the founding president, and I ran it for 25 years. Bill Raymond came in, he was on the board at that time, and I didn't want the organization to be simply me. We had to have diverse opinion, we had to have more involvement, and gradually the board grew to the point where it's now about 15 or 16. I attended board meetings until I turned 85 3 years ago. We had about 100 people there, and some notables speaking before me. It's the only speech I ever gave where I got a standing ovation. A standing ovation at a cemetery was a bit surprising. But I think I touched on everything that was close to my heart and therefore resonated with the people that were there. It's no secret that the huge success of Prater Shalom was due to the fact that it was a bargain for most people using it. They were getting a far superior product, better service, better protected, at a most competitive price compared to elsewhere. My proposal, at first to Federation, then to my board, was, guys, let's assemble these 300 acres, use them. Let's build a park, a nature trail, let's build learning facilities, and let's link the young people coming there, instead of necessarily going to Muskoka in the summertime, right next to the people that ultimately are funding it, namely the cemetery, linking the generations. The young generation, I think, there's a huge hope for. And if you lay the pattern of amicability, of truth, of trust at their doorstep, I think they will respond in a way that would be surprising.